Recorded live in Balcatta, Western Australia, the Hoon capital of the world, this is Talkin' Power.
Gap is what happens when you hold to the floor and crush the man next to you. There's space in between your back bumper and your front bumper. We in the South we refer to it as the gap band.
Well, I think Formula One is for grown-ups.
So, what about the sideways? You've got a race in your own lane. Now he's on the grass, he brings it back. Oh, some great driving there.
Torque and Power, your motoring and motorsport podcast.
Welcome to episode 46 of the Talk and Power podcast. I'm Nick DeChimbra and I'm here with co-host Simon Gonzo Travellini. Thanks for joining us, Simon. And we're in the presence of someone. We've got a big interview today, and we're in the presence of not only Drag Week extraordinaire,
Drag Challenge, No Mercy
9 extraordinaire, Harry Haig. Harry, thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Hey boys, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for taking the time out to join us. Harry, we got a lot of questions. I've got one that, well, I won't start off with that question. I'm going to leave that for a bit later as a bit of a surprise. Anyway, I guess one of the questions that our listeners would really like to know is, how did you actually get started in drag racing, and what were some of the first cars you raced?
We got started. Didn't really know anything about drag racing. We got started. We're doing the burnouts for a while, and got sick of trash and shit every weekend. And I'd drive it for. I'm a bit of a lead foot, so every time I'd go out, I'd blow the thing to pieces and push the crank out of it. So a couple of boys were getting in the drag racing and whatever, and I thought it was pretty easy. Just get the biggest motor you can and shove in a car, and it'll be all easy. But I learnt very fast on my first day, my turbo big block, when I went 10-0 all day, that this wasn't the case, and the right-hand sill was nearly dragging the ground because it had stand suspension and stuff in it. So yeah, it was a pretty quick introduction to drag racing, which was probably 6 or 7 years ago was when we started building the HQ, and it sort of went from there.
So with Pop 666, how did that come about? It looks like it was a bit of a barn find.
It come about. It was actually the car that my wife used to get driven to school in every day. So when I first met her, our first date, they live out on a farm in the middle of nowhere. And as you do when you go to a farm, you're poking your head in sheds. And I seen this car in there. It was a 40-foot shed. It was right at the front, had hay bales and horse rugs, and it was all covered in dust. And I opened the door, and inside of it was immaculate. I thought, man, I've got to get this car. So I hammered her, the father-in-law for probably 12 years, constantly. Every time every Christmas, every time I'd come around, he wouldn't give it up. And then one afternoon, we're sitting here with the boys. We just knocked off work, and he rings me up and he goes, I've just bought a tractor and it won't fit in the shed. If you want this car, you better get over here quick. And I said to the boys, drop what you're doing, get in that tilt tray and drive it as fast as you can over there before he changes his mind. So when we got it, the condition was I had to do something cool with it and make it go fast because he'd seen a couple of my other cars. So hence the name Pop 666. Pop is Pop and 666 is the devil, which is my mother-in-law. So that's how the number plate corresponds to the car.
Well, I tell you what, you certainly met your obligation. It's definitely the coolest HQ in, well, apart from maybe Zappia's. Zappia's might have topped you there.
Yeah, I think that's got us covered. But I remember when one Christmas, I think we got it about July or something like that, and first Christmas, the old boy doesn't visit us that much because he's a fair way away, but I had it sit in the driveway and they come for Christmas lunch and he's looking at it and he's like, oh, it's going, is it? I'm like, yeah, it's going. And it ran like probably a 920 or something. We had it by then, but it was on pump fuel and it had one single turbo. It spooled up fast. And I said, come, we'll take it for a drive. And he goes, no, you drive it. So I drove it down the road. And you've always heard that expression, a person went white. Well, we got down my road, which is a single lane road. It's pretty rough and shitty. And by the time I clicked into the second, he was like white as a refrigerator and hanging onto the dashboard. And I got to the end of the road. I said, "You better have a drive." He's like, "I'm not driving it." I said, "Well, we're not going to be able to get back because I'm not driving it till you have a drive." So give him a drive of it. He rolled it on in first and into second, and I said, "Jump on it," and then went from one side of the road to the other. He got off it and shit himself, and yeah, it was one of the coolest days ever.
Yeah, that's so. Just tell us, Pop 666, what running gear does it have now? Then, what's it been upgraded to in the latest incarnation?
It's always had a big block, a glide off Gonzo, and a 9-inch.
Mm-hmm.
In the early days, it was pretty primitive. It was just a single turbo setup. One of my good mates in Shep made just some log manifolds out of steam pipe. We had the boys tunnel vision and all that, did all the computer, and it had a 4788 single turbo on it, which was a bit small for the engine, but that's all we had when we started. And it's just sort of, as it's torn itself apart, we just made it stronger as it's sort of gone on.
So let's move on to the drag challenge. It's for those listeners that haven't listened or tuned in before. It's 5 races, 5 days. You cover approximately 1,500 kilometres. Can you talk us through what you need to do to the car to prepare yourself for that? Because what people probably don't understand is you actually have to drive the car from track to track. There's no trail. You're not allowed to trailer the vehicle to any of the tracks. So what preparations do you have to do to get the car ready for that?
I'm probably the worst guy to ask about preparation because we're always like 2 hours to go before we're bolting the last thing together, and we're always running on no sleep. But basically what it is, you get there Sunday scrutineer.
Yep.
And everything you need for the week, whether you tow on a trailer or you can put it in your car, by Monday morning when the event starts, your car trailer and everything else that you brought with you that you're not allowed to use, you're not allowed to touch that for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
So once you've entered and you've driven in the gate, they'll give you the signal right, car trailers and the support vehicles in the paddock, and you've got to have everything you think you need to make that shitbox last all week.
Yeah,
so it's hard. Sometimes like, some people take everything in their shed. Some people, we normally work on the theory if you take it, you won't need it, but sometimes that doesn't work. But yeah, it's just experience of, and then you'll get thrown a curveball that you just can't fix, like little stuff. You'll get yourself out of trouble. But when you're in it's 3 o'clock in the morning and you've got a transmission let go or something, then you really find out who your mates are.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
Now this year was pretty special. You had your son with you on the drag challenge. Is that correct?
Yeah, I had my son with me the last 3 years. So he was 13 when we first started. So the first year we had a hell of a year. We got to the first night or second night, and we're driving on about 11 o'clock at night, and heard one of the lifters start to tick. So we'd done a roller lifter. So we pulled up, wired that up, pulled the plug out, drove to the next track on 7 cylinders with fence and wire holding everything up, and then got there, did a cam swap, and then it just all went downhill from there. We got it repaired, another cam, and then got to Swan Hill and we broke a rod. So we had people bring parts up from Melbourne. It actually broke the rod, didn't hurt the bore. It clipped the water pump, the oil pump, which you didn't realise. It cracked that. We got it all back together, and we'd all been up for 4 days or whatever, and took the oil line off the turbo, and a bit of oil come out. I said, it'll prime itself up. Away we went. But in my tiredness, I was looking at the fuel pressure gauge, not the oil pressure gauge, because they're both the same on the Holly dash. So we had about 3 pound of oil pressure for 3 hours. So you can imagine how that ended.
Yeah.
We got 20 minutes from the Calder gate. We stopped to get fuel, and the thing was that hot and just locked solid, and that was that year. Then last year, we went to Adelaide, and we just from day one, the auto trans bracket on the shifter cable was bent down a bit, and on the hoist I thought, I'll just straighten that up. But obviously it was bent the whole time, so it wasn't engaging second properly, and then we didn't sort of realise what was going until the end of the day, fixed it, and then we drove out of the place, went to get fuel, and it was pouring oil out of the pump seal. So it just continually got worse to Wednesday till we'd wrecked everything we had to fix it, and we exhausted all our avenues. So we haven't had much luck in the last couple of years. So this year The last 2 years, I had a very sad little boy sitting in the back watching everyone else go past and watching it on Facebook. But this year, we had a pretty happy little boy, so it was really cool.
But it really is a proud moment, is it? Because I could see from the videos from Street Machine, it was a really proud moment this year. And before we get into this year, I mean, it must have been something special to share that with your son after you've had 2 reasonably poor years with him.
Oh yeah, like it plays on your mind like for the rest of the year that you haven't finished. Like he gets the shits because we go to the States, hop in the Chevelle, drinking beer and just mucking around being idiots the whole time, and we always finish and have a good time. We actually put a lot of effort into doing this, and it was starting to wear thin on the young fella a bit.
Yeah.
When we left on the Sunday, thought we had everything right. It's probably a 2-hour trip from my place to Melbourne. It took us, I think it took us 9 hours to do 80 kilometres on Sunday. It just kept overheating and we couldn't figure out what was going on. And we stopped at a truck stop after we'd thrown the towel in, got someone to come and get us. And he's riding around on his little motorbike that we have on the trail, a little pit bike, and he comes back and said, I've seen a shooting star, Dad. And, oh, righto, what'd you wish for? And he goes, I wish that we finished drag challenge. And I'm thinking in my head, there's no way that's happening in today's succession rate. We can't go 5Ks, let alone 1,500. But yeah, after day one, so somehow we messed a few things up. We're in the league. Yeah, he couldn't punch the smile off his face, which made me happy and all the other boys happy too. It was really cool.
As you were driving past all those places that you broke down, were you sort of, feeling the pressure?
Oh, I've always watched Brocky and read a couple of things on them boys, like at Bathurst, when they got the, cars been going flawlessly all day, and the last couple of laps they hear stuff that they think's fallen off and these strange noises. That was like 5 hours from Swan Hill back to Calder that night. Cordy was asleep and the other bloke, Wog, that was with me, he was asleep. And I'm going past places where we've failed before and just listening to weird shit that probably is nothing, but in your head you think it's something major. And yeah, it's a pretty hectic time in the middle of the night when you spend heaps of money on the car. All it has to do is propel itself, but it seems to be always break. They always fail on the road, never at the track.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a pretty happy moment in my life to drive in the front gate and wake the young fella up, and he got up instead of tears of sadness, we had tears of joy. And he normally doesn't wake up that good. I think it's the fastest he's ever waken up in his life. So yeah, it was badass.
So speaking of that final day, you've gone into the final day only 2 100ths behind Frank Marchese. I think that's absolutely amazing for the whole event to be 2 100ths behind, first to second at 2 100ths after you've covered 1,500 kilometres and you've been racing 4 days at that point. I just can't. I don't think people can quantify that yet.
No, it's people always say, we'll do this and it'll be easy. Like I always said, if you wanted to have fun at this event, you'd take a car that you didn't have to swap nothing over. You'd pull your esky and your bags out. You'd run your 12-second pass, load your stuff back in, and you'd cruise off. And you see these boys all week. They come in, do one pass, they get there after us, they do their couple of passes. They're sitting at the pub putting stuff on Facebook by 12:30, and we're still laying under the shit box swapping it over. Like, yeah, it's pretty wild. The amount of effort that goes in to swap them over and to get a time like my car, it's gone like 4:75 or something. Like we couldn't at Mildura. Time we got going, the best we could go was like a 5:20. It's just like, you've got to have a lot of luck, and you've got to decide. Like we're at Swan Hill when Frank, we went 7:50. We had the quickest pass, and Frank went a 7:32, and everyone's like, "You're going to go out again. You're going to go out again." And it was sort of half past 2 in the afternoon, and I'm like, do I risk going out and blowing this thing up and having my son stab me in the face, or do I just don't worry about it, just get there and we'll worry about it tomorrow? So. Like some of the boys in previous years, like they'll just watch each other and they'll go lap for lap and just it's sort of you just got to draw the line somewhere when you're going to go and get on the road and worry about it tomorrow. So there's a bit to it, but it was cool all week. Like everyone expected Frank not to make it the second day, and he was like with us. We were always the last ones driving around at 2 a.m. and everything, and he earned it. So did we, but it was a cool deal.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It's been a big year for you this year with the second spot finish, first overall in class in Australia and second in class in the US. You got any other plans for us in the last few weeks? You going to try and win one, like one of the national events, or?
No. We on the Sunday, all these noises I was hearing, like driving back to Calder, we put a new instead of the conventional Holden spring in the chassis, we put a coilover shock type deal on the front of the HQ and these new brackets that mount off the top, and it was driving funny all day. Like get to the top end, it'd go one way or the other, and it actually broke it's been happening all day. It was tearing the top control arm out of the chassis. So that's why, we couldn't get it after half track. It would just turn whichever way I wanted to, and I didn't know if it was me or what the hell was going on, and that's sort of what pulled us up at the end. But we had the power and everything, but just in the top end, it was all over the place. And then we got back, and the top control arm was laying against the steering arm, and they're all wanting me to go again. And I'm pointing to Terry, I'm like, no, there's something wrong. I can feel it clunking on the steering arm, and he looks under, he's like, oh, you're not going anywhere. So, we had, it's luck of the draw. But we had a ball in the States. The Chevelle went well. We were driving, I think the first night when all the tornadoes were happening, because we hadn't watched the news. We'd been up and we haven't got a radio, or we didn't know what's going on in the world around us. So I remember it was like 3:30 in the morning. We're on radials. It's raining like cats and dogs, and we're coming down these hills idle on like 50 k's an hour, and the back's trying to pass the front. And Ryan in the back of me as I was drinking a beer as we're driving along, and as we're locked across one side of the road to the other, and I hand Terry me beer as I going left hand or right hand down or something. And my mate Ryan's in the back behind the taxi bar, and he's like, "Well, Dad, I've never seen you give your beer up in your life." And we're the only ones on this 4-lane highway going towards Darlington, I think it was. And the other side of the road was 4 lanes. It was bumper to bumper, and we're looking at each other thinking, are we doing the right thing here? Like, everyone else is leaving this town, and we're going towards it, and the rain's getting worse, and it was pretty wild.
Well, it's interesting you bring that point up, because I've got in my notes here. I actually listened to Mike Finnegan of Roadkill fame. He has his own podcast, and he mentioned the exact same thing. Like, they were literally driving into storms. I mean, he speaks quite highly of you, Harry, actually, in his podcast, and said how much of a blast it is to hang out with the Aussies, and your name in particular, to be honest. But
oh, really?
Yes, yeah, he did. But can you tell us a little bit about Steve-O, is what you commonly refer to the Chevelle as. Can you tell us a little bit about the Chevelle?
Yeah, well, the first year we went there, we went with a couple of other boys, Arby from Sydney and another bloke, Steve Reeman. They had it was some sort of Mopar thing, like this ugly Mopar thing, and Steve was running a bit short on money to do it. He goes, if you want to throw us a few bucks, you can come over and drive the car at Drag Week. I'm like, hell yeah, I've watched it on TV. I'm in. So we got there, and they told us how fast this thing was, and the whole time where we were going to stay, I'm asking old mate, I said, can you find me something big block 4-speed? I'd saved up a bit of money. Like, anything you can find. So that's all right. The first few days we got there, we seen this car, and he goes, oh, you better take it for a drive. So took it for a drive, and going along like 40k an hour, and this thing was supposed to make 600 horsepower, and got Pyro sitting beside me. He goes, oh, let's see if it does a skid. So I've jammed one foot on the brake, one foot on the accelerator, and it just sort of bogged down and just sort of took off. We both looked at each other thinking, we're not taking this. This is terrible, So this shop we're at had a 20-acre paddock behind it. It was all overgrown and stuff, and we're looking around, and I seen this top of this roof down under these trees. So we went down there, and that's where we found Steve-O, and I asked him about it. He goes, oh, this guy never paid his bill 20 years ago. It's been sitting there. It won't go, all this and that. So we dragged it out with a tractor, and the floor pans like up to the tunnel was just full of rat shit and birds' nests, and inside of it was just had a smell that would outlast Jesus. But anyway, we dragged that to the shed and had a quaddie on it, and not much wire, and the rats had eaten it all. So we took the quaddie off, put it in a bucket of petrol, and made up a few hot wires and stuff, and went to this Mexican joint across the road, had lunch, come back, put the quaddie back on, powered up the Dizzy, and put a spark to the starter motor, and the thing started and idled like a brand new car, and everyone's just looking at me like there's no way that just happened. And then I think we had like 4 days or something, and this thing had no interior, was missing taillights, no, but it was pretty much a bare shell with a long motor in it and a transmission in it, and that's about all it had. So, the thrash was on, and then that was the first year at Drag Week. I think it was 214 or 215. So we had no clutch mechanism for the first 300 miles or something. We had to drive it, started in gear, and Mark Mickey got us a clutch linkage, and we sort of went from there. But from when we rocked up there, I've met some of the best people you'll ever meet in your life. Like, I just couldn't believe what we'd done, and that's sort of how it all started off.
Harry, this is the question I've been meaning to ask you. So this year you came second in Super Street Big Block Power Adder in that car. This is at Drag Week.
Yep.
You went on to say it was better than having an orgy with Margot Robbie and her friends. Really?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've come, I think every year we've come fourth and stuff like that, and it felt like we'd won Bathurst. Like, when we worked out, we were in third for a bit, and then on the last day, it was just that hot this year. Like, it was crazy, the heat, and the intercooler was maxed out, and we're putting like 35 pound in it, and it would only let like 25 through, sort of thing. We had Terry there from Paramount, best mate Terry, and he's like, I can't throw any more at it. That's all it's going to do. And we went in. I know all the guys, Keith Turk that runs it, and they're like a big family, this thing. And we went in there, and when we had to hand our time slip in, and Tonya Turk, which is Keith's wife, who does all the time slips, she looks at me and goes, points to the screen and goes with second. And Mike Finnegan come in as well, just at the same time, and give him his time slip, and realised he was second. So we crash tackled each other the whole way through the hot rod boardroom in there, knocked everyone over, carrying like we two guys had just seen their first porn film or something, and it was a pretty special day.
No, that is awesome. And then to top it off, a few weeks later, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you've caught up with the Duck, the Donald Long, and No Mercy 9, and qualified number 1 in the 6.0 class. Yeah,
I messaged Duck sort of before we came over, because a couple of the Aussie boys, Jet Martin and Wade Wagstaff, and that were racing. And I stirred Duck up a bit, like he's got sort of the same sense of humour as me, so I'm always making him memes and stirring him up about stupid shit. And I sent him a photo of the car just as a laugh. I said, what class can I bring in, run this shit bucket in? And he's like, just bring it down, we'll put it in something. I'm like, you serious? He's like, yeah, hell yeah. So we were the only ones to drive our car into the gates of No Mercy, and Lenko Jim was there, and he's like, I'd heard about you, mother. I can't believe you've driven this thing in here. And then they treated us like royalty, mate. They're really good people. Like, give us VIP passes, and they were unbelievable. And the event is just like nothing you've ever seen. Like, it's just got its own buzz about it, just 24 hours a day. Like, no one sleeps. It's wild. Yeah.
I can actually picture Lenko Jim actually as you're rolling in saying that. That's actually not that hard to believe. Lenko Jim.
He's a hard bloke to get to know, but sort of after the 5th day, I'd worn him down and up and doing stupid shit. And he's a legend, like him. And Donald's like totally different to what he is like on the live feeds when he's stirring him up. He's like, nicest, well-mannered bloke you'd ever meet in your life. Like, he's always worried about what, everything's right for the races, and it was a really cool deal. I really couldn't thank him enough. And when we top qualified, like, he actually come down and shook our hand, and he couldn't believe it. He's like, there's no way you top qualified that pile of shit. I'm as surprised as you. It was a good deal.
You've had an incredible, unbelievable 2018. What are the plans for 2019? How are you going to top this one, Harry?
I'm actually going to try and find some work and try and pay for all this, because everything I've got's maxed out at the moment. Even our hillbilly operation, it still costs money to do. So all these other boys have got 1 million sponsors and fancy workshops. All my stuff's built in a lean-to with nearly a dirt floor. So, just a bit of recovery and try and catch up for next year.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Hey, Harry, is any speaking of sponsors, are there any you'd like to thank and crew you'd like to mention as well?
Oh, got to thank a heap. I've got to thank Terry from Paramount Performance in Toowoomba. he's the main man behind, why this, Steve-O and Pop, go so well. He's a gun on the tune, and anything else, like, there's not much he can't put his hand to and get you out of the shit. Like, they're awesome mates. Robbie Abbott from Abbott Engines on the Gold Coast does the engine and Pop now and comes with me to Drag Challenge every year. Awesome dude. The guy sitting beside you from All Fast Converters, we've never actually met in person, but I can ring him at any time of the day and bounce things off him, and probably 50% of the reason why my car goes so well is just stuff that I've talked to him about over the years about setting stuff up, and he's a wealth of knowledge, as you know. Yeah. So some other boys here, mate Phil Whitford, who does my painting.
Gary, don't forget the missus and your son, eh?
Oh, yeah. Tits McGee, she's called, and the kids, and all the other boys, they know who they are. That give us a hand with it. I won't reel them all off because I'll forget someone, but we've got a pretty good group of mates that make this deal happen. So really appreciative of all that.
Yeah, nah. Hey, look, Harry, we won't keep you any longer. I know it's pretty late over there in Victoria. So, look, we won't keep you any longer. Thanks for your time on coming on the podcast, the Talk of Power podcast. I know you've got a Facebook page. I think it's Chevelle, Aussie Chevelle.
Just Aussie Chevelle. Yeah. There's an Instagram and a Facebook page. Just Aussie Chevelle. You'll see it all there.
Yep.
What about Pop? Has Pop got its own page yet? It should do after this year. Come on.
It did, but it was always failure. And this year I just sort of wrote a novel on my own page at the end of it. I probably should share it to it. But there is a Pop 666 page as well. But this year we're most exhausted I've ever been at a car event. And, I just sort of did it all at the end. But there is one for that as well. So if you get on there, you'll be able to see all the failures from past.
You need to get some photos of the engine bay sprayed with the white ceramic seal.
I'm actually looking at it now. I was telling you about it the other day. I'll send you a photo. It looks like it's been dragged out of the bottom of the ocean.
Hey, we should also thank, myself personally, I should also thank Street Machine Magazine and also the team there. I shouldn't mention names, but I know Luke was pretty instrumental in putting a lot of video together.
Obviously,
as well.
Scott.
Scotty Taylor as well.
Scotty Taylor and Telf.
Yeah.
Chris Thorogood and them boys, their videos in the last sort of 2 years are just world class now with all the technology and a couple of young fellas coming through showing them this and that. Yeah, even the ones from Drag Week and stuff like that. Like, you forget half the stuff when you're actually competing. It's really cool to go back when you get home and you get a bit of time yourself just to watch it and you see stuff that you've never seen, and they're doing an awesome job at the moment with that.
Huge effort. I
mean, they really brought the whole Drag Challenge to our homes this year, and I think they did an excellent job. And if you haven't seen any of the video, please get to www.streetmachine.com.au. Everything we spoke about is basically there. So it's all there, and the boys have done it. As you boys know, there's not much happening in Victoria as well as drag racing, and there's lots of static shows and all that. But this is a thing that it's grown into a monster. And when they were asking me about it, I said all people want to do these days is drive their shit. It doesn't matter, where you're going or what you're doing. Like that bit's irrelevant. If people can just sit in their car with their mates all week and cruise around, that's all anyone wants to do when they build a street car. So they've done an awesome job. Yeah. All right, Harry. Thanks for your time. It's been a pleasure talking with you. And
we look forward to seeing your antics for 2019.
Yeah.
We'll see what we can do. We bought the young bloke a wagon. I bought it last year. It was a bit of a deal for one of our buddies from Montana. Built it for Scott Taylor for his child to buy a special needs car. So I bought that for the young fella, and Robbie's built a big block for it. It didn't make it there. It got stuck in the container with the other boys' cars this year. So the motor's it's at Noonan's and everything. It's all ready to go. So we'll have a 2-car team next year, and the young bloke will be by himself with a couple of the other boys. So it should be entertaining.
So this is Malibu Barbie, yeah?
Malibu Stacey.
Malibu Stacey. Sorry.
Didn't you watch The Simpsons? So there's a page for that as well. If you just want to check that out, you can. It looks like the Griswold wagon. We put a wood grain and stuff on it this year. So it'll be a cool deal.
I'm looking forward to seeing it, Harry. All right, thanks for your time, and thanks for coming on, Harry.
Thanks again, Harry.
Thanks for having me, mate.
No worries.
See you, boys.
Take care.
See you, mate.
All right. Well, that was a awesome interview, and really big thanks to Harry and his crew and Harry's time as well to come on to the podcast and do that. I really appreciate that.
I don't understand how he finds the time to do all of this. He must not sleep.
No.
That's the only thing I can think of.
The other thing I forgot to mention, and I feel kind of bad actually that I didn't mention it in the podcast, but in our interview with him, but he's a very endearing sort of guy as well, and he probably might not like me saying this, but a lot of his interviews he does with Telfo, have you seen him before? He puts his arm around Telfo, and it's like quite, he's an endearing sort of guy.
He's a top bloke, Nick.
Yeah.
He's a top bloke.
From Shepparton.
And did he do Fink this year as well? Yes, he's from Shepparton. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I know he's done it in the past, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He told me
I don't know if he did it last year or this year, but
Yep.
just amazing how much he crams in. I have enough trouble trying to get down for a street meet.
There's a lot of good people in Shepparton. A lot of
There
good
is,
people.
yes.
The Silver brothers are from Shepparton as well.
Yes, they are.
Big shout out to Anthony and Danny.
But it's an amazing the Pop 666, even the Stevo, the Chevelle. It's amazing that he has so many people from right across Australia involved in it.
Yeah,
you got Terry in Queensland. You got us over in WA. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
he's pulled together a group of people that have done an absolutely amazing job.
And ironically, it really is a case of selling ice to the Eskimos because, you'd think you'd be able to get an engine, a tuner, and a transmission and converter from the US, like considering the cars in the US, instead of getting it built in Australia. Anyway, good on you, Harry.
No, we really appreciate the time. Many thanks for that. MotoGP, it's all wound up. So this is a bit of a wind-up podcast, really, in many ways. We've got a number of events that have ended since our last podcast. MotoGP was one of them. It was a farewell to Danny Pedrosa. It was sad to see Danny go, finish up. He started in MotoGP back in 2001, in 125.
Yep. He won the championship in 125 in 2003, and he won the 250 title in 2004 and 2005. In total, he had 31 victories during his career.
Yeah. So, look, I mean, it's sad
that was
to see him.
in the MotoGP category. Anyway.
That's correct, yeah. So it's sad to see him go. Finished fifth on the Valencia race, so hometown race for him. Quite an amazing race, wasn't it? We've been plagued by rain this year in MotoGP, and I've got a list here. There's 10 riders that weren't able to complete this race, unfortunately. Now, there is an exception to that. Paul Espargaro fell on lap 13, I think it was, and because the race was stopped on lap 14, he was deemed as still running because they take the results from the lap before.
Correct. So
he was able to continue on. Third.
He did, and that was the first podium for KTM.
Mate, it was Celebration City for KTM, and hats off to those guys. And Paul was particularly excited and probably needs to be managed a little bit better next time. Look, I mean, he was pretty excited, and some of the swearing that they did apologise for it. I'm not offended by it, but MotoGP had a few of the F-bombs dropped.
Yeah, but there's a bit of a story about that because of the rain. So they had to stop the race and then restart it 40 minutes later.
Yeah,
it meant that they tightened everything up. So the normal delay that exists when they're interviewing wasn't there.
No.
So everything he said went worldwide.
It was. So, look, I mean, I was really happy for the KTM team. It was really big celebration for Andre Dovizioso as well to finish first in that race was real hats off to him.
Stay on the bike.
Yeah.
To stay on the bike.
I think I spoke with you the Monday after this race, and I said to you at the time, the visors they were running were the clear visors. They didn't have the tinted visors on. It was amazing. The whites of their eye you could see it in the way they're looking around the corner and literally around the corner. And there are a heap of shots of Dovizioso's face on this particular race, and it was intriguing racing. Let's put it that way.
It was a very look. If they had have stayed out for a couple more laps, they would have reached three-quarter race distance and the race would have been called. But they didn't get to three-quarter race distance, so it was a whole new race when they started again. And what was sad, the big downer for this race was 5 laps to go. Rossi, came off, and then that changed the manufacturers' championship.
Yeah,
moving Yamaha from second to third. Which, I mean, it was Marquez's year at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Dovi was right there. I think Rossi was in there with a chance. The Yamaha, towards the end of the season, they figured out whether it was the way the power delivery was, or a chassis issue or engine issue, whatever the problem was, they'd figured it out. But unfortunately, Rossi just pushed a bit too hard in a few races there, and it was all over.
Look, I don't think anyone's going to be blaming Valentino too much about that drop from second to third. When you look at it, Maverick fell off as well during this race as well. So, I don't think Valentino should be wearing the heat too much. I certainly don't see it that way in my view.
It just would be nice to see him. Marquez is a lot younger, yet he rides someone of more advanced age. What I mean? He will relinquish a position because he's looking at the championship, not the race.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, ideally he'd like to win every race, but if he'd rather finish than fall off. And I thought that this year Rossi would have a bit more of that kind of approach, and even Dovizioso, but we haven't really seen that maturity out of either of them.
No.
And they're both older than Marquez.
That's correct, yeah.
Anyway, moving on to Formula One.
Yeah, Formula One finished up last night, Abu Dhabi as well, in the United Arab Emirates. Look, it was an interesting race. There was a couple of highlights through it. Probably a bit of a cakewalk for Lewis in the end. I don't know, I haven't got it in the notes here, but Lewis's celebration at the end of the podium was weird. He took his shirt off and turned his back to the crowd, and they poured champagne on his back. It was kind of weird.
Maybe it's a fetish thing. I don't know.
It was weird. It was weird. Anyway,
that track reportedly cost $1.5 billion.
Yeah, it's still today's most expensive purpose-built track for Formula One.
Do you think that this is what the Liberal leader had in mind for Victoria?
We should have asked Harry about that.
I know.
So, yeah, well, you probably need to explain a bit about that. But Matthew Guy, Liberal opposition leader in Victoria, $40 million?
Yep, he promised $40 million to build a new drag strip in Victoria to bring back the crowds of old.
Yeah.
Actually quoting the figures that we often talk about, Calder Park seeing 90,000 plus spectators. Didn't work for him. No. Landslide Labor win. Now, the thing that I don't get, the Labor leader, is that Mr. Bean?
No, Daniel Andrews.
Daniel Andrews.
Like
is he related to Mr. Bean?
You say what you want to say about Daniel Andrews, but he doesn't do, from my understanding, one of the AM radios, I think it's 3AW, doesn't do interviews there, and Harold Son have had the scope on him for some time and still managed the landslide victory.
I think that it's a bit like the upcoming federal election. No one really wants Bill Shorten as Prime Minister, but everyone, this is what we went through in WA. We didn't want Mark McGowan. We just wanted to teach the Liberals a lesson.
Yep.
And I think that this is the same sort of thing. I mean, I don't know what Andrews is doing over there. Obviously, he's doing a pretty good job.
Yeah,
because,
he's doing a very good job.
Yeah, so, but we've got the New South Wales election coming up. And, I think she's pretty nervous.
Yeah.
She's... I don't think she feels that comfortable that they're just going to romp at home. And then, next year we've got the federal election.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I don't think that any of the stuff that went on with Turnbull and so on, Abbott and I don't think that's done them any favours.
No, certainly not. Certainly not. Back to the Formula One. Just they let politics get in the way of talking about Formula One, but. So it was also to be Fernando Alonso's last race, and it was really, fitting to see him actually finish the race. That was really nice to see him actually finish. It was also Dan's last race with Red Bull Racing.
Oh, on the subject of Alonso,
Yeah.
Is it true that he might be going to NASCAR?
Oh, look, he's poured water on that rumour, but he is doing a car swap, I think today, actually. Today the car swap is happening with Jimmy Johnson of NASCAR fame.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So the two teams have got together and they're doing a car swap. So Jimmy Johnson will be driving not the latest car.
Yep.
Mind you, it's a V8 McLaren from the old, not the old days, but I think it's a few years old, before the hybrid era.
Yep.
So Jimmy will be racing that, and
they're
Fernando
doing that at Bahrain, yeah?
That's correct. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Not far from Abu Dhabi, not far from this facility. So that'll be interesting to see. Bit of a frightening incident actually in that at the start of the race. We had the Haas of Roman Grosjean tag Nico Hulkenberg's Renault, and we saw the Renault roll over twice. He was okay. Bit of a fire in the back of the car, but they managed to get him out after they got the fire out.
Yeah, it was the thong. The thong saved him. Had he not have been wearing thongs?
No, I don't think the halo had anything to do with it. It was interesting, great tussle between the sparring partners of 2 weeks ago, Esteban Ocon and Max Verstappen. I'll tell you what, Esteban had his elbows out, was for position too, so no yielding required. They went, it was a couple of laps, they went shoulder to shoulder. Really great to see. I was really happy to see Ocon fight so hard. I still, without repeating myself, cannot understand how this guy is not going to run a race for next year, car for next year. Anyway,
Nothing at all.
No, he'll probably
You know, Nick. A lot of the people that you see driving, they're paid drives.
Yeah, well, Ocon is a Mercedes driver, and he's leased he's owned by Mercedes. Can't believe it. Let him go, guys, because he's got great talent, and I'm sure someone will pick him up somewhere. Yeah, and Raikkonen's final race in Ferrari.
Yeah,
out in lap 8, lack of power. So that was really sad to see. Anyway, as we said, Lewis Hamilton went on to win the race ahead of Vettel. Vettel really, sort of was there, but not really there. And Verstappen in third. Dan finished his career in 4th spot. Great to see.
Well, career in the Red
Bull racing.
Yeah.
Sorry, my apologies.
He'll be back in Renault.
Yep.
What do you think? Do you think Renault's got it?
Not for 2019, but Alain Prost has already said that. So that's okay.
Wow.
2020.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
But they know that, and we're not expecting anything from Dan or the cars next year. But 2020, with the new rule changes, that's when we'll see some change. Well, Alain Prost seems to think that's what he would know. He's the team principal.
So we wrapped up the supercars as well at Newcastle.
I'm just going to say 2 words. Well, they're 4 words. 5 words to you. I haven't put it in the notes.
How many words you got?
5.
He said a lot more just introducing that. You know that.
Charlie Jackson jerry cans.
Oh, stop it. Stop it.
God.
Stop it.
Where are we at?
I have one thing to say to you.
Yes.
That if Mark Scaife, right, agreed with the steward's decision, then it's final.
Oh, yeah, he's the judge. What is he, the judge?
He is the judge, jury, executioner, yeah.
Yeah, so did Crompo as well. But it was literally, if you haven't...
So for those of you that don't know, there is a rule in the supercars that you must have the filler removed from the car before the tyres hit the deck. And Shane Van Gisbergen.
I don't like saying his name.
And the Red Bull Racing team.
Yep.
They didn't meet that obligation. The tyres hit the deck before the filler was removed. And even though he won the first race, the Saturday race, he copped a 25-second penalty because of that, which moved him back to 5th. So at the end of the first race, going off the race win. Now, for those of you that didn't watch the race was a bit of a, edge of the seat type race. There was a safety car that came in like a little bit earlier than you would like if you're on a 2-stop strategy, because you needed to go, I think it was 60 laps or something on the 140 litre maximum. And the way it works is the supercar rules state that you have to use the allocated fuel. You have to empty that.
Yeah.
But you're also allowed to use the vent tube, right? So as long as it's out of the tank, you can have the vent tube full, but as long as you've reached the bottom of that, then you've met your obligation, right?
Yep.
Which allows you to do a two-stop strategy. But you need to get that stop in at that critical point, right? So the Shell V-Power team, Scotty McLaughlin, they managed to get all the fuel in, but they had 6 litres in the vent tube. They had the maximum amount of fuel in the vent tube, which meant it was always going to be touch and go whether he was actually going to see race distance.
Yeah.
And in the closing lap, Shane Van Gisbergen, however you say it, SVG, let's call him SVG. He managed to close in on Scotty McLaughlin and overtake him, and Scotty actually ran out of fuel and coasted across the line. That's how close it was, which meant that they were down to 2 points for the final race of the season, which was on Sunday. Would it have changed the outcome?
Probably not.
No, it wouldn't have. It wouldn't have. On the day, the Shell V-Power team just seemed to be more composed. On the Sunday race, Scotty McLaughlin relinquished the lead to Davey Reynolds, which, once again, that's a sign of maturity when you're battling and you're sort of going, well, you know what, I don't really need to be here. I can be one position back and I've still wrapped up the championship, rather than risking on a street circuit, as many people did on the Saturday and on the Sunday, wiping out your car and not finishing the race.
Yeah. It was interesting. I think that call, he probably didn't, but the big boss all the way at the top, Roger, made that call. Well, he said that was the call to have been made, was to relinquish the lead.
Yeah.
And let... Now, whether he's just backing Ryan Story in, I really don't know. But it was really great to see also, not only Roger was in town for this race, Tim Cendrick as well was in town. So he's the chief operations manager for Penske Motorsport Worldwide.
Now, there was a lot of banter on social media that the $500,000 donation may have contributed to the call regarding the Red Bull Racing team getting the 25-second penalty. But, you know, the reality is that if the tyres touch the deck and the fuel filler is still connected, then it's a breach.
There's no doubt that's the case. And I'm not saying that. I just think the rule, we are killing this sport. We're killing it.
I don't think that the rules are killing it, Nick. I think that the amount of money that you need to participate in it, you know, to own a franchise, to build these full chassis cars, and the fact that they're so far removed from a production car is what's already killed the sport. And the fact that there's no overtaking positions. You know, the reason that I love the MotoGP is, you think about this season and the podiums and all the different manufacturers. KTM was a big deal, their first podium, but it wasn't that long ago that they started out in the sport. You know what I mean? Whatever their formula is, it's working really well. You've got a good mix of riders, you've got a good mix of manufacturers, and there's always a surprise. Every race, you know, you might say, oh yeah, but look at how many Marquez has won. Yeah, but they've got the package at the moment, and they've consistently had the package, you know. The Ducatis have been right there tussling it with them, and at the beginning of the season, at the end of the season, the Yamahas were right there.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
So Suzuki's getting better. You know, we're starting to see some really good results from Suzuki, and you would almost argue that if they bought one of the aliens and got them to ride the bike, they would probably be, you know, a contender every race meeting.
Yeah.
The supercars, you know, what made Bathurst and what made Group C and the touring car championship prior to the Group C was the fact that they were the same cars that Mum and Dad used to own and drive.
Yeah.
You couldn't really do that now because it'd have to be a Camry up against I don't know, Tarago or
I-40.
something. I-40. I-30. No, what's the...
Oh, if you're going to bring those
SUV,
cars, X-Trail or something.
X-Trail.
Yeah.
X-Trail, Pathfinder, I don't know.
You shouldn't laugh too much. They got Ultimas in there, so...
Yeah, they do. So, yeah, I don't know. We also saw at the Supercars the farewell of Craig Lowndes.
Yeah, we did. It was a fitting farewell too. What did you think? I don't know if you saw it. You might not have seen it, but the actual, I guess you call it guard of honour that he walked down, and I really enjoyed that. Actually, his interactions with the other teams and the other races, in particular Davey Reynolds, him and the Erebus team did the old obligatory Wayne's World. They get down on their knees. We're not worthy. That was really great.
I was kind of more on the Scott Pye side of things.
Okay. Anyway, look, I mean, it was.
So if you didn't catch that, Lounsey ran into the back of Scott Pye in the pits.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And Scott Pye later said, "Well, everyone else managed to get through," which was pretty dumb, really, because Lounsey was right behind him.
Yeah,
so,
and the first one that knocked him out of the way.
Yeah, knocked him out of the way.
Yeah, I think Scotty Pye would probably want to rethink that one.
Oh, I thought it was funny anyway.
Yeah. Validating your argument about what you just said, and if you look at this, and we've had this interesting phenomenon as you talk about MotoGP. That aside, I mean, Marquez walked away with it, but look at the points over the Scotty McLaughlin won on 3,944, all the way down to fifth. It's pretty reasonably tight. I think we've got, 700 points there. But after fifth, it's a 400-point drop-off, which is quite significant. And if we look over at Formula One, it's even worse. Formula One, we got, Lewis walked away with it in the end, but we've got the top 6 cars. We won't say reasonably close. Look at that. Nico Hülkenberg in 7th, best of the rest, no doubt. That's a substantial drop-off after Daniel Ricciardo,
but Nick,
who lost 8 engines.
Anything that you try and do, like the race for the chase or the countdown, any of that sort of stuff, I think I'm not really a fan of it.
No, neither am I.
I think that if you've got a great driver and you've got a great team and you can walk away with the championship, then you should be able to do that.
Yeah.
And then it's up to the rest of the teams to catch up. And I think the secret to this is, you watch a lot of the racing, and it's boring to watch the guys at the front. You want to watch the guys in the middle that are fighting it out. But really, they've earned that TV.
Yeah.
And so, The formula of the supercars is a flawed one because they're trying to, even out the money that they all get and look after the top teams. And it's not, it's just not and the fact that they're so restricted in, the engines have to be like this, and now they're full tube car. There's nothing that's Holden or Ford about them. I guess the good thing is that if tomorrow they change the rules and make them run a NASCAR style car, well, the teams are going to be able to adapt to that because what they've got now has got nothing to do with a production car anyway.
Yeah.
So, maybe that's the road that they're taking. Maybe we're going to end up with a GT series or whatever. You got to understand that even Formula One, like at one stage, Formula One wasn't the top tier. They moved it around.
Yeah.
And what formula refers to is, it's this many cubic inches or this many litres, it's this wheelbase, this minimum weight. That's the formula. The rules are the formula. And if you look at the history, at one stage, Formula 2 was the top category.
Yeah.
So, I don't know where it's going. I mean, it was exciting to watch, but it's the usual follow the leader type racing.
Yeah.
And now, I don't know if you've noticed, those cars are practically centre steer now.
Yep.
The drivers moved right in the middle.
They're going over to the left, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yep. Speaking of Formula racing, it's not in the notes as well, but I just got news this week. Formula 3 is going to be replacing GP3. GP3 is out, Formula 3 is in. So at Formula 1 events, we're not going to be seeing GP3 anymore. We're going to be seeing Formula 3, and the rules are changing slightly, but no hybrid engines for Formula 3. So just the standard petrol engine, 3.6 litre. Anyway, that's some interesting news. In other news, I don't know if you follow your cricket at all, Simon, but Mitchell Johnson used to be the fast bowler for Australia. Then he also had a stint at the Scorchers. It's my son's favourite player. He was really disappointed to hear when he retired from the Scorchers.
I'm more of a Gilchrist and Shane Warne kind of guy, to be honest.
Alton Border. But Mitchell Johnson will be debuting in WA's F1000 series.
Merv Hughes. Top bloke, Merv.
David Boone. I was more of a David Boone.
Beanie?
Yeah, Booney.
You don't drink like Beanie.
No, nowhere near, but good guy.
Short, backward square.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Mitchell Johnson. F1000 series in WA, so he'll be debuting that next year in 2019.
So do you know about the F1000 series?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
I think it's a great class.
GSX 1000 motors and
I'm
a
not
mix
sure
of
it's
1000.
restricted, but they're 1000.
Yeah,
it's
I think
motorcycle
GSX
engines.
is the choice of weapon from what I can understand.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have thought the Quacker, the Kawasaki, because I mean on paper it makes more horsepower. Maybe the latest GSXR makes more power. I don't know. Or the BMW.
Yep.
The 1000RR. That's a screamer of a bike. Great series.
It's great, it is.
And I think reasonably cost effective.
Yep.
Unless you've been one. But yeah, it'd be interesting. We should actually get up there and
have a look at that. Yeah. Also, another news this week: Auckland bidding to host a Formula E race. Now, I know a lot of people don't like Formula E, and I'm neither here nor there on it at the moment. But I think Auckland are actually bidding for it. But I think really this is something that Perth should be looking at. Because Formula E is only going to get bigger. They've just announced a television rights into the UK via BBC, and that'll be free to air over the internet.
Yep.
No word on Australia yet. How we get it at the moment, you've got to subscribe to it to get it in Australia, and it's over the internet. But these guys are doing some really great things, Formula E, and I think it should be something that Australia in particular should be looking at.
Look, the whole electric car deal, electric racing. I think we've got no choice but to accept that it's going to be the future.
Yeah.
Right. Now I don't know if you follow it much, but
a little bit.
GM is talking about releasing a crate motor now. So I've done a little bit of research. It's a Borg Warner based motor. It's actually two Borg Warner motors bolted together, 750 horsepower. And they fitted one to a Copo Camaro.
Oh yeah.
Right. It runs a modified Turbo 400. Which I would imagine has an electric pump for the oil pressure side and no torque converter. And there is no official numbers yet, but they've obviously done some testing with it. The banter is that it's in the low 9s.
Oh wow!
Which is and that's a considerably heavy vehicle. It's not like a purpose-built electric drag car. So it'll be interesting to see because, I mean, obviously the good thing about the electric motors is they're a bit of a modular design. You can just keep bolting motors on. So you want 1,500 horsepower, you bolt two of them together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know people are going, the sound, but yeah, the pollution. This is what we've got to accept, that eventually people are going to say, hey, you can't burn fuel anymore. So it'll be interesting to see how that starts to unfold. In the US, there's already a electric drag racing association, which has been growing for a number of years now. So interesting to see.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, well, good luck to everyone at the Golden States this week. That's coming up in the Perth Motorplex this Saturday, the 1st of December, and it depends on when you get this podcast. You may be getting it on the night that this event is held, but there's going to be a radial event at the Motorplex on Wednesday, the 28th of November. Red versus Blue. The teams have been announced. Go to the Motorplex Facebook page. I can't remember who's in each team. You have to forgive me, but it's on there anyway. Not a bad concept from the guys. I think your friend Jesse he's on the bench at the moment, so I don't know.
He's on the bench?
He's on the bench, yeah. I don't know. It says to be advised, so he's not in the team yet, so...
Oh, okay.
He must be coming off the bench. all the time.
Well, I mean, I would have thought that he would be quick enough to be considered.
I'm not sure if he's made himself available, is what I mean by that. He might not have made himself available for Wednesday evening, so I might be talking a bit out of school.
Oh, he was down there last Wednesday. He went. I'm pretty sure he went 8.50 at 160.
Yeah, these guys are only going to be going to half track on Wednesday evening.
Yep.
He might not have an opponent. That's why he's to be advised. He's waiting for someone else to come in. So
with a Ford. I'm assuming that's what the red versus blue. No?
Don't know. Don't think so.
No.
I think it's just red and blue.
What does that mean?
I can't remember the breakdown. It was Lorenzo Galotto was in there. There was a few other names, but I don't remember who was who. My apologies.
You'd think that red versus blue would be, Ford versus Holden.
No, I don't think it was that way. You know
what?
what?
Holden is traditionally the red.
I don't want to be talking out of school here. No, it cannot be. I've just had this confirmed. It cannot be Holden versus Ford because Lorenzo's in red. Yes, he's Holden, but Kevin Bolton's in blue. And that's a Camaro, and Craig is in red. Craig Moore, and he's neither. And Clint is in red, and he's not red. Not Holden.
Clint
Di Giovanni.
Oh, rightio.
So, and as I said, to be confirmed, Jesse Murphy. But I can only assume he hasn't got a partner yet. That sounds a bit sus, doesn't it? He hasn't got a partner. He hasn't got a pairing, is what I mean. Anyway, you know what I mean. All right. Okay. Big shout out to there's another podcast in WA, if you haven't heard of it, The Pod Filter. And they've got some special guests on next Monday.
Very special, apparently.
You and me. We're going to be on. So big thanks to Adam and Simon over at the Pod Filter for asking us. So we're going to be shooting on down there to they actually, you know what they've come out and said? They don't think that Balcatta is the hoon capital of the world.
Really?
No, they dispute that, and they want figures verifying that.
Well, we'll have to do the freedom of information thing and find out how many people have been busted under the hoon.
But we had Joe Ordino in Balcatta back in the day.
Joe Ordino.
Yeah, you know.
So, for those of you that don't know who Joe Ordino is, you may remember driving up Carrinup Road. Is it Carrinup Road there? Yeah, it is Carrinup Road, yeah. And seeing a brown Holden Commodore station wagon at one stage with flares on it.
Yep.
Parked out the front of a house. That is the famous Joe Ordino mobile.
It's still running. I had it verified the other day for me from someone very close to us. Actually tinkered with it.
There you go.
Still running.
So he used to do the Hungry Jack's run. Because we used to meet at Scarborough Car Park back in the day.
Yeah.
Not that we were doing anything illegal. Or
of course not.
No. And he used to do the Hungry Jack's run to Mandurah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've had friends do that as well. We should probably not talk about that.
Probably not. Because the burgers are better in Mandurah, apparently.
Yeah. Anyway, we've said enough already. So, yeah, anyway, look, we're going to be on the podcast filter. Really looking forward to that and meeting Adam and Simon down there. So that'll be down in Armidale. So I'm looking forward to that.
Is it at a pub?
Yep. Yeah, they have a special room there.
Who's driving?
I'll be.
You'll be driving?
Yep. Yeah, I'll drive.
You're picking me up?
Yeah, you can have a few beers.
I will?
Yeah. We'll have a few beers with the guys as well.
But hang on. We can do wine tasting at the same time.
No, I don't know if the guys will take a liking to that. Anyway, I could be wrong. Hey, as we said, we're on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, Spotify, our website, YouTube as well. You'll see this video come out on YouTube a few days later. So, got to thank Harry Haig for his time on the podcast tonight. Really appreciate that. Get over to thestreetmachine.com.au, see all the video there. There's a really great 24-minute video. It shows basically Harry and Frank going toe-to-toe for the whole week. Probably a little bit unfair to some of the other races that are in there. Go back and watch some more videos because there's some other cars in there that are just equally as good as these guys. You know what I mean? And probably just weren't quite there. And a shout out to Lorenzo as well. That was
huge effort for those guys, eh?
Yeah,
huge effort. They finished third overall, first in the LS class and second in the radial class.
So just to quantify this,
I'm just a little bit confused because Harry was on radials, but. Yeah, we should have asked him. Apparently, the radial class, you had to run a 275,
That's correct.
Which is
or smaller.
Yeah, which is kind of, they should have called it a 275.
Yeah, I saw that rule as well. But anyway, yeah, just to quantify that, and Lorenzo, he finished, I mean, 6/10. That sounds like a lot in drag racing, but it's not over 1,500 kilometres in 5 days. It's
that's
absolutely
right.
nothing.
Yeah.
So he finished 6/10 behind these guys, and Adam Rogash again was only 1/10 behind him. So, in fairness, I mean, yeah, we've spoken with Harry tonight. We should really try and speak with Frank as well at some point, and Lorenzo as well, and Adam Rogash, and anyone else that really, I think, what Street Machine has got going here is huge.
Yeah, it's awesome. Awesome event.
Yeah. All right, Simon, thanks for coming in, and thanks for coming in a bit early, so I really appreciate that. And
thanks for having us, Nick.
No worries. All right, we'll see you soon.
See you in the street.
Cheers.
Talk and Power stresses all characters and events on this podcast, even those based on real people, are entirely fictional. All celebrity voices are impersonated poorly. We do not encourage street racing or the use of turbochargers.